It's a great privilege for me to be able to introduce to you the next speaker, Dr. Rodney Jackson, who has been a personal hero for me for so many years. Rodney moved to Nepal in 1975, which is when he started his snow leopard work. Back in those days, it would take him 12 days to actually get to his study site. On foot. He would walk on foot to get to where he was doing his work, and then he would spend months on end. Now, years later, Rodney's working across 6 countries in Asia. He's focusing very much on community-based conservation. He set up the Snow Leopard Conservancy with his team, and he's doing amazing work to protect this incredibly beautiful animal. It's such a great honor for me to be able to introduce to you the amazing Dr. Rodney Jackson.
Well, thank you, Shivani. Boy, looking back, how did snow leopards ever get in my life, you know? And I grew up in Zimbabwe. I want to back up, though. I want to tell you about the big picture. So snow leopards are found on the roof of the world, the closest place you can imagine, 10,000 feet and above, up to 15, 18. They live in one of the most sparsely populated areas of the world. There's 40% of the people are herders. They mostly live below the poverty line. They have cold winters. And yet, these two have coexisted until pretty recently. Lately, there's been a conflict, and the conflict comes about because of livestock raising. And like Shivani mentioned, snow leopards, being a predator, are killing livestock. What's going to happen? What's the scenario? How can we project this out? Well, I see a pest now, but where do we go from that? I think that as people are going to live on the plateau, on the high areas, they can have nowhere else to go. We have to find a way to promote coexistence. And my dream is we move from a pest to a valued asset, where snow leopards are valued much more alive than dead. So I want to take you through some of that transformation as I've seen it. It's still evolving. I grew up in Zimbabwe. I was born in South Africa. I was a real shy kid, but I always knew I liked animals. And I was going to come back to Africa, work in a national park. Of course, I needed an education for that, so I came to California, and I got a degree. Something happened here at UC Berkeley. And I got to thank National Geographic, I guess, for that, because I saw this image of an incredible cat. And, you know, so much more beautiful than leopards. Sorry, leopard folks. I just knew I needed to study it. And George Schaller, the very famous biologist, had tried and failed, not because he was a bad biologist, just because he picked a place there was a lot of conflict. I was lucky, though, I think, because I'd gone to Nepal in '75, been in a remote area, so I had some sense of the background of what we needed to do. I applied with my wife, Darla, for this application, the Rolex Award, you know, expecting that I might make the first list, but never the finalist. And I was sitting in an office in San Francisco, and I got a telephone call from a TV company wanting to film me. I couldn't believe what they wanted to film me for. They said, well, you just won the Rolex. I said, whoopee, you know, this is money. This is going to get me to snow leopards. And indeed, it did. And I'm not going to go through that story. That's a whole nother 10, 12 years of my life. But it came with the cover story for National Geographic, a seminal study that was here for 20 years until GPS collars have replaced it. And the first information about a really secretive cat. It's secretive for a lot of good reasons. So this is a satellite picture of the Central Asian area and South Asian area at night. The white, obviously, the city lights and the highways are connecting all the cities. The orange is the snow leopard habitat. And what's most obvious there, of course, is where there are no lights, there are snow leopard habitat. And so they live in very sparsely populated places where people's annual income is $400 a year. They're pastoralists. They've lived in the land for a long time. They have a strong culture. But it is changing. Change is in the air. So here's it in the daytime. I just want to give you a sense. We have a different problem. We work in, well, we have 12 countries to address. There are only 2 snow leopard organizations in the world, ourselves and the Snow Leopard Trust, and an enormous area, most remote area you can imagine. So how can you go about protecting cats in this area? And that's what I want to talk about here. We work with local communities and with local NGOs. They are the next conservationists. We need to build their capacity. We need to work with them to come up with solutions to deal with this human-wildlife conflict. So we have programs in Bhutan and Nepal, in India and Pakistan, 2 countries that are uneasy with one another, and then again in the north in Mongolia and Russia. And I'm going to take you through some of the programs in these areas. First, I think, just to give you a sense of what habitat is like, on the far left here, which is where's my pointer, this area, I don't see, these are not working very well, is the high Himalaya. That's where I spent 4 years of my life. Down to the side is the Gobi Desert. You can't imagine a hotter and drier place than that, but snow leopards live there, or the verdant valleys of the Pamirs. The threats are pretty uniform, really, and that's, again, conflict. Snow leopards with their beautiful fur were very highly valued in the fashion industry in the 70s. That led to their endangerment. That fur coat would take a number of snow leopards. It would cost $60,000, something like that. It would be worn in cities, Beijing, Russia, and so on. You can't blame the herd up in the corner that's getting $50 for this. They're right on the verge. Most recently, the use of the tiger bone. They're running out of tigers. What's next? Leopards, snow leopards, lions. And they've been used for traditional Asiatic medicine and aphrodisiacs. So that's certainly one threat. The threat that is a more local one is the local herders. Now, they live with the cats. They are living with the herders, and they encounter snow leopards. And poaching has been going on, the prey base is disappearing, and as that disappears, you get a vicious cycle of snow leopards having to subsist off livestock. Livestock are the cash in the bank for the herders. It's their future. But look at the corrals that they build. Now, they don't have many materials, but no wonder. This is a feeding pen. All the cat has to do is jump over this wall, and they can really jump. The sheep and goats can't get out, and they've got a huge meal. What can we do about it? There's poorly constructed doors. The danger is that cat goes on a killing spree, and it will end up killing anywhere from 10 to as many as 80 or 100 sheep and goats in a single night. And that's your entire bank account gone. So no wonder we get retributive killing of snow leopards. And that is something that is really quite simple to avoid, actually. The difficulty is scaling up, but the simple solution is, well, predator-proof the livestock corrals that people use, especially in the hot spots. And it's a simple thing. The herders and the villagers provide the mud and the stones and the labor, and we provide the wood for the posts and the wire mesh that goes over the roof. And for that, we can keep a snow leopard out. For every snow leopard, for every pen that we can keep snow leopards out, or every settlement's pen, we believe we are protecting at least 5 snow leopards from retributive killing. And the herders, as in this case in Ladakh, know they can come in the evening, bring their sheep and goats in, and they'll be safe. But I think it's really the words of the local herder, Tashi Langel here, that is most critical. Before, he would be lying on the cold ground beside the pen, guarding all night. Now he can go home. And as he says, he can be with his family. And because he's not faced with loss of livestock, he doesn't have to kill snow leopards anymore. He can be a good Buddhist. So he can be back in harmony with what is the tradition in the area. And we have predator-proof corrals in a number of countries, but we face an enormous problem because there are many, many dozens of villages, of settlements in snow leopard range. And we can't possibly predator-proof all of them at anywhere from $800 to, say, the bigger ones that would be for, something like 400 or 500 sheep, probably around $3,000, $2,000 or so. It's going to be enormously expensive. And next year, I hope I'm going to be able to come back and report to you on something we call Lights for Life. And these are flashing lights that we hope are going to deter predators from coming close to corrals. Now, we know predators are going to habituate to some of that, so we want to escalate the whole thing and maybe use sound and different measures. And this is all undergoing experimentation right now. Let's switch gear a little. So I think the next generation of snow leopard conservationists are going to come, I hope, come from rural areas. And the kids are really the future. To date, so much of conservation action and research has been driven by outside scientists. Why aren't we using traditional knowledge? Why aren't we going to the kids and invest in them and the herders as the monitors looking after this environment? And I think the Snow Leopard Scouts program in Nepal, where we operated, run by a Nepalese Somali, I think is a classic example of how we can really adapt programs for citizen science. So we work with the schools in the local area, pick the best students, you know, they go through some essay writing. We want passionate, committed kids. We give them a week-long camp up in the higher mountains, and many of them, although they live in rural areas, don't go out and camp. They don't go and observe wildlife particularly. We give them a potting scope, and they start counting blue sheep, the main prey of snow leopards. They get in some idea of the habitat, some idea of the range management, because we bring along on these camps a herder that can talk about, you know, what it is to manage and maintain livestock. We have painting competitions, storytelling, poems, and so on. All this is built-in sharing of knowledge between the students and the teachers, leading to valuing your local environment, your culture. The kids get really happy when they have to put out camera traps. They just love technology. So I think it's the best of two worlds. We got the kids who know how to use technology. We got the herders who know something about snow leopards. And if we can put the two together, the herders will show the kids where to put the cameras. The kids know how to operate those cameras. What do we get? We get people like Ramesh Sunar. He's about 14 years old. And he's just become a total dedicated camera trapper. And he has got some amazing pictures. I'll show a few of them for you. This is one. Nighttime shot, obviously a female snow leopard with 2 cubs. So this gives us information they're breeding. And this picture, up in Upper Mustang, again, with the local kids, working with what we would call rangers, I guess, of the protected area. They're really field people. So this led to this picture. And I'm happy to say snow leopard noses are going to the Navi people and Pandora planet. But we have it on real good authority that actually they use snow leopards to bottle the Navi people. So I'm quite happy that snow leopards travel there, but I prefer them to be on Earth. And let's move now northwards again. We move into Russia, southern Siberia, in the Altai Republic of Russia. And there we've set up an anti-poaching team. So Russia had the dissolution in the 1990s. People didn't know what to do. There was enormous poaching. They killed a lot of wildlife. And the whole snow leopard population of Russia is almost decimated. How to get it back? Well, who did it? This guy. Mergen Markov is a poacher. His father was a poacher. I know his grandfather was a poacher. They go after musk deer, lynx, wolf, snow leopard, anything. They had no choice. This is where their livelihood. They sold these furs, meat locally. The furs and the bones and the musk glands would go to China, and they'd have a livelihood out of it. Well, along comes our partner, Misha Paulson. Misha's right now in New York State, at the State University in New York, getting his PhD. He had the really brilliant idea. We've got to find these poachers, and we've got to convert them. We've got to make them into rangers. He was putting up camera traps, and we were getting no snow leopards. So Misha's smiling because of this picture. and this one. So very quickly, these poachers, they know where to put the cameras. They've gone in, and we started documenting more cats. They're still definitely below the population, but we know if we can protect them, get the poachers out as the conservationists, removing snares, monitoring the area, earning an income that is at least equivalent, if not more, from being protectionists rather than poachers. That's, I think, a very valuable way to go. But how do you don't have poaching everywhere, so we've really got to raise the income of local people. The average income, as I mentioned, throughout much of these 12 countries in the mountain areas is $400-500 a year. It's very little. In Ladakh, I think the woman really came up with a wonderful idea that we were able to develop with their help, and that was bed and breakfasts. So they said they've got beautiful houses. You can see it up here. Big houses. They've got a spare room. We can do a B&B. We provide 3 meals a day. You bring your sleeping bag. We'll give you a room. You'll have a dry toilet. We'll give you nice meals. You can talk to us. You get some cultural interaction. And for that, we will get $10 to $20 a day. That has made an incredible difference, because what has happened is with that cash, they've been able to send their kids to school, so they have that concern addressed. Everybody wants their kids to have a better future. And more importantly, they've been able to reduce the holding of livestock. So what has happened? This has happened. We tourists, I guess, have a way of getting to the most remote areas. These are all photographers. You can see they're 90 500 millimeter lenses or whatever they are. There's about, 15 of them lined up there. Can you believe that they are standing where I am and they are looking at a snow leopard at the back of that room? And we did it for 2 days. If I got off the podium, and I won't here, the cat would go up onto the hill. As long as I stayed that 50 meters, those snow leopards were, that cat was just watching us all the time. And there she is. You can see we run winter trips there because we like people to see snow leopard. In the last 7 years or so, all of our trips have seen snow leopard, and increasingly number. I was there just a few 10-day trips last year. I saw them 8 times, which is incredibly. My whole previous career for 30 years, I would be lucky to see them once a year. It's truly remarkable. If we're not chasing cats and harassing them, they get more concerned about birds. So this magpie that you can see down here is really what that cat's concerned about. It's on a kill, and that Persky magpie wants meat. Now, I can't imagine magpies would eat a lot of meat, but that cat doesn't want it to have any. So it chases it away. And if we get too close, it just goes up into the rocks like this and watches us intently. So I want more things like this. Now what I want to do is actually show you an incredible thing. And I got to move to the TV here because I'm going to have to become a sports reporter, I guess, in a way. This is a typical habitat of snow leopard. It's a rocky area. There's a snow leopard up there. I'm not going to give money away, but I'm going to challenge anybody to see that cat. The cat is up on the rock watching the blue sheep in this very sparse area where there's not a lot of forage. The blue sheep are, heads down a lot of the time. They're not always looking up. The cat sure as hell is looking down. And there's a snow leopard there. Who can see the snow leopard? Well, you've had a headshot on this, no? You can? Okay, I'm going to right there. These pictures were taken by a nature guide who actually works for a bird watching company just last year in this area around where we have the homestays. So it's incredible. Now, as the blue sheep started to approach the base of the cliff, so the cat became more interested in them. And there's the cat. It's really hard to see. You can see how close. We're probably about 35 yards away or something like that from the blue sheep. So for something like 2 hours, the cat was watching, almost 3, the cat was watching the blue sheep getting closer and closer. When they got close enough, it then spent the next 37 minutes roughly stalking closer, getting closer and closer, walking along those little ledges. And you can just see it there in the upper right hand. It suddenly leapt off. Now I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, aiming at a yearling blue sheep that you can see jumping away here. There it is. Look at that leap. And they have no problem leaping 30 feet or so. Look at those. That gap is getting narrowed very quickly, very, very quickly. Look at that. If I'm going a little too fast, I'll slow a little here. Hits the ground, forepaws all there. The sheep is sort of deciding, I better go uphill, and I better go uphill quickly. Ah, I didn't make it fast enough. However, the snow leopard is using the tail to slow it down, but it's got to get its teeth in that throat to strangle the animal. That's the only hope it got. The yearling struggles a little, gets away, so the chase continues up the hill. Now, you see the other sheep are disappearing. All the dust things you see there, get the hell out of here. There they are, crossing a smooth area, so it's a little area easier to see them, I guess. And the leopard's getting closer. Look at that long tail out there. Isn't that incredible? And this is steep. This is very steep terrain. It's got to be 40 degrees or something. Well, the sheep, being young, I guess, was inexperienced, made a fatal mistake. It decided, I can go faster downhill. So it turned. You see the cat behind it there? Look at that tail. That cat is turning. It's turning on a dime, really. Coming straight down. You can see the sheep above its tail there. Now we go back down the hill. And now, the sheep's hoping to gain on it, but of course the cat is getting just too close. And the way they do it is they try and trip them over, knock the forelimb, so if they can get, the prey to fall over, they're more likely to be able to get it on the neck. So tail whips up here. The snow leopard rolls over, trying to get to the throat, throws the sheep up in the air, grabs it by the neck, subdues it. And it's lying there for about 5 minutes, if I remember correctly, until there's no breathing. It'll rest then for a short while, but it's in a dangerous place. It's in a dangerous place because it's at the base of the cliff, and wolves. Wolves will kill snow leopards if they have the chance. Wolves will take steal the prey of snow leopards. So the cat has to move quickly and start to get its prey up the hill. Here I'm just showing the sheep. Some run down, some run up. I suppose it's a matter of chance whether you're going to be eaten or not. And here's a snow leopard grabbing the prey by the neck and then beginning to grab it up, move it up onto the cliff, onto a ledge where it could feed on it at leisure, and could take up to a week, actually, to consume a large prey animal. So this is just a view of the hunt sequence. This took all day. The blue sheep moved down that blue line there from a higher smooth slope to the edge of the cliff. And in these gullies, we tend to find more vegetation. So, it's kind of a dangerous life. Your food is by the cliff. The predators live on the cliff. The white line is the snow leopard. It was way up on the cliff, and then it covertly stalked down to the bottom, made the first rush, and contacted the prey at the yellow spot, and then went up the hill and then down, and finally the kill site. So you might wonder, what are the statistics of this? And here they are. The people watched it for about 8 hours. It was 2 hours and 51 minutes that the snow leopard showed great interest in the prey, but figured, it needed to get closer. So it spent another 37 minutes stalking closely. And during that time, the photographer totally lost contact with the animal because it was so well hidden. The total chase that I showed you was all of 10 seconds. That was it. Just incredible. And the cat strangled for 5 minutes and then, rested for 3. And then it was too dark and those guys had to go home. But anyway, I thought that was pretty fantastic as a tourist. So what are we going to do, really? This is a big question. Snow leopards being in 5 countries, we have an international species. We need cooperation. You may remember that most of the range of snow leopard was around international boundaries, transboundary we call it. So last year, the World Bank, working with the 12 countries, called a conference. There's actually the president of Kyrgyzstan, and all the high-level government officials, this is ministry level, came together, and for the first time, they came up with an international protection plan. Now, we as NGOs, small NGOs, couldn't possibly get high-level government people together, but the bank was able to. And the goal is this. The goal is that we will secure 20 landscapes across all these 12 states, and each landscape needs to be at least 100 snow leopards. So this is the challenge that faces us by the year 2020. So we got basically 7 years, I guess a little less now, in which to accomplish this. The bank is not putting in money. Can you believe that? They're expecting the general public to put in money. So I don't quite know what's going to happen, but my vision and dream really is that we would have snow leopards roaming like this 12,000, 13,000 feet in Ladakh. There's no conflict. You can see the cats now. People who watch this hunt. This is a remarkable change. So we've moved, I think, at least in this area, from a pest to an asset. And that's the paradigm I would like to see throughout the range. You guys can help. You can help, obviously, by supporting funding for the particular activities. Maybe there's some technical knowledge that you can share with us as volunteers. There's all sorts of ways. This is obviously the other side of the world. But we must remember what we really need to be doing is building the local capacity. That's a critical thing. And I'm glad to say that SLC is really at a pivotal point here. We're at a point of growing. We're moving out of a little office into a slightly bigger office. And we are recruiting, I guess, my next generation of snow leopard conservation. I want to just briefly introduce him to you. Dr. Quinton Martens from South Africa. And he's going to bring knowledge about Cape leopards, and he's going to start tackling the big problem of snow leopards with me and with our range countries. And we really invite all of you to be partners. We greatly appreciate the support you have given over the past years. Thank you.